Down front, Sam.
Kevin, what's Myles Garrett's status this week?
We're not going to comment on any injuries.
No Justin Evans, no Ricky Seals comment?
None. No different than usual.
That is actually kind of
Not
different.
surprised.
Sometimes you do.
Well, that's when I usually open up with those comments. So, no, we're not going to talk about injuries.
To the left, Cease.
No, he's still going.
Oh, you go? Okay. Well,
We can't just stop you with that one.
Exactly. I got to get because I don't know when I'm going to get the mic back. Is this team, in your opinion, physically stronger than it was last season?
Than last season? Yes.
And why is that?
I don't know. I think you've got a combination of a couple things. You've got the maturity factor of guys being older. We've got a lot of guys who have played a lot of football that are a year older. I think you've heard me talk about some of the decisions that I made that were difficult decisions in December, leaving Tennessee and getting back here and making changes with our staff. Also making changes with player development and what we do with a lifting program. And not subtle changes, drastic changes that, have become apparent to me. And so, whether it changes the results or not, we're going to see. But certainly the things that we wanted to get done because of our body types not looking like the rest of the body types in our league. We were a very lean, very athletic, very fast football team that we're not really, really big. You've heard me say, Sam, you look at the end zone copy of the tape, it just looks different. And that's without saying what I'm trying to say. It's just wider behinds in there. So that's a fact. Now, over the course of a season, that wears on you. So we spend a lot of time in nutrition. We spend a lot of time in our sports science people, which, we've got great resources here that people see outwardly. But internally, we've spent a lot of time, I have, on the player development piece. And for guys like Sean Washington, who were safeties, they have come in here, gone through shoulder surgeries, but I think you see a different Sean Washington at 240 than you saw when he was here, or Deshaun Hall, who was 208 when we signed him. So, just eating and regularly doing things was not the case. We had to put some quantitative measures to it and hold some people accountable for those numbers. And logistically, we're a little bit different looking team right now. We are a stronger team. So I can answer that by saying yes, just because I've seen the numbers of where we are coming into this season. And that was the goal. So we'll see where that takes us.
to the left, Cease, and then down front, Brent.
Kevin, in the offseason, you talked about what Noah Malzone would bring to the program. Now, after 4 games of preparation, play calling, film watching, what sets him apart from other offensive coordinators you might have employed or worked with?
I've worked with a lot of them. And, I think there's a comfort level for me and Noel just because we've known each other for over 20 years and working together. And you've heard me say, Cease, he left to be Tubbs' coordinator to go to Ole Miss, and I stayed at Minnesota and become the quarterback coach. So, we've talked every year in the off season. We've met in the off season. We've talked during the week at different places, whether he was college football or pro football. We just never had an opportunity, timing-wise, to work together since. I don't know, what was that, 93, something like that, Jim Wacker. So, there's a lot of respect. And there's also, I think, a lot of commonality with that makes sense. There's not, I think people see us talking on the sideline in between series or during certain things that the communication has been great. He's a guy that has coached football at, high school, college, the NFL. He's seen a lot of different people. He's seen a lot of different systems. He's he's dealt with a lot of high-profile quarterbacks, guys who have had great success in the National Football League, guys who are currently having success in the National Football League. He's coached guys that were great college players, guys you never heard of. So, he brings a lot to the table. I think, his conversation with our quarterbacks and with our offense have been received the right way. But not only that, I think he's done a really, really good job of trying to develop our strengths. And that's easy. Every coach is going to say that. Let's play to our strengths. Well, that's harder harder done than just saying it, because, I think the evolution of Trevor right now has a lot to do with his comfort level with our coaching staff and our comfort level with where Trevor is and trying to bring him along. And that's a communication during the week. And, trying to still figure out where he is and have him get better, because he's only played 4 games. He didn't play for 19 months. And I think Noel has the experience and the knowledge to be able to see that and be able to play to those strengths.
Down front, Brent. Then we'll go Olin and to the back.
Would you mind taking us back to Trayveon Williams' recruitment, all the way back to 2015, right? It went on before that. And also, are you even surprised at what he's done, the quick impact he's made?
Yeah, I think everybody's going to look back and say, well, he was always explosive. He did a lot for C.E. King. They had him all over the place. And he's a guy that was always explosive. He was a little bit thinner, but he was really a different built, kind of high split, long leg guy, but had great hands. And a guy that we fortunately got flipped. We talk about all the guys that we forget about the guys that came here that were committed to other schools. So he was committed to another school in state, and after sitting down and talking with him and his family, he changed his mind, and I'm glad he did, because he's got real explosiveness. I said that during fall camp. For him to be where he is right now, didn't know that, but he showed that. He's an early graduate, so he comes to school in January, goes through off season. That's not for everybody. Has some issues, trying to pick up blitzes and do some things, but really works at it. I think, the thing that sets him apart right now is you've got 2 guys that had came in as early graduates, he and Prater, that went through spring football, that are playing really at a really, really high level for freshmen. And you don't see that very often, but the thing that they have in common is their work ethic off the field. They're in here all the time. They're studying. They're in trying to stay healthy. They're doing the other things that I think has set them apart. And I think them coming in, as you ask about, Sam, I think them coming in and seeing the change in the approach in the off season with everything we do, that's all they know. And it gave them an opportunity to really go through what we talk about prehab, to go through all the recovery stuff, to approach this thing. And so those guys have really had a great early start to the season. But if you're around them, they don't wear it on their sleeves. And I think Trayveon is a guy that's got a lot of talent, got a lot of ability, enjoys playing the game, but also is working at it off the field to be as good as he can be.
Go Olin to the back, Colin.
Kevin, last week you told us about the safeties kind of getting some motivation out of being kind of overlooked in the preseason awards. I was wondering if you sense that Josh Reynolds has some kind of similar motivation. And
You noticed he wasn't on there either, huh?
Yeah, and
You think I brought that up?
Well, tell me, does he strike you as being one of the most underappreciated players in this conference?
We might have talked about that during fall camp. So he wasn't on the list either. There were 3 deep. So that meant there were at least 6 guys better than him.
What do you think about that?
I just had that discussion with him, just like the safeties.
All right, we'll go to the back. Colin?
Coach, you mentioned a few times in the preseason that you obviously want to be better down the stretch than you were the last two seasons. Now that it's kind of a similar situation to the last 2 years, 4-0 start, what kind of things are you guys doing as coaches to make sure that doesn't happen in terms of changes you might have made?
I think we just talked about that in the offseason.
Anything, anything
I
in the season?
think we just covered that. That doesn't start during football season. That started in January. And like I said, we made some drastic changes throughout the program. We made some subtle changes throughout the program. And does that guarantee that things are going to change? No, because performance guarantees change. So the things that we've done since January, quantitatively, by the numbers, we can see a difference. But until you do that on Saturday, none of that matters. So, where we are right now is where we are. I think our guys understand that. I think they have a different perspective of where we are right now than maybe they did when they were freshmen and sophomores, because a lot of these guys were on the field as freshmen and sophomores. So, and maybe they handled it a little bit different as juniors and seniors than they did because, you got a group of guys that walked in here and won games right away and didn't do anything. They were used to the first year here and just thought things were going to keep rolling the way they were. Well, I think they found out that it takes a little bit more than that. And so their approach from January till now has been a little bit different. And like I said, our schedule's been different too. It's been a little bit backloaded. I think things get lumped into the last 2 years where we played a conference schedule early in our season, except for one opponent, and South Carolina ended up not being that team that everybody thought. Arizona State was okay, but the first 4 games are probably a little bit different than playing UCLA at Auburn and Arkansas. So I think we have a little bit better feel for where we are as a team right now than we did 4 games ago, a year ago or 2 years ago. And does that, as I said, does that guarantee a change? It doesn't. But I think what you can do is evaluate where you are as a team a little bit better than maybe you could 2 years ago or last year. Does that make sense? Is that fair?
To the right, Gabe. To the back, Daryl.
Kevin, playing off Olin's question. To the right here.
To the right,
Okay.
sorry.
Playing off Olin's question about Josh Reynolds kind of being the best player that the nation doesn't know anything about. Does he kind of like it that way? And then a side note to that defensively, Henderson and Kiki have like 14 tackles. But if you watch the games, aren't they that same guy on the defensive side so dominant?
Well, I don't know if Josh likes it that way or not. I just know that I like that he's on our team. And, he's not real talkative, not a real flashy guy. He's, I have pro scouts ask me, how fast is he? I don't know. He's fast enough. I put it that way. I haven't seen him get caught very many times. So, he's got great hands. He's really a good athlete, and whether or not he likes it or not, I don't know. But I think he's, he wants to be an elite player. It was very evident after the bowl game when he came in and knocked on the door, and things were the way they were. For him to come in there and knock on the door and tell me, he's like, Coach, look, I'm not happy with how I finished, and I'm going to come back next year and work harder and be the best I can be. And that was great news for our team. It was great news for him. Great news for everybody. And I think he's going to try to make the most out of this senior year. And what was your other question?
Tackles.
You kind of snuck 2 or 3 of them in there once. You're a veteran, aren't you? Yeah, that's it. That's like a common theme this year when you get the mic. Kiki and Zaykoven have been solid, and I know a lot of people said, well, where's Dalen wasn't starting, or what's going on? Nothing's going on with Dalen. Dalen is still a work in progress. Kiki's a bigger man. Kiki's 6'5", just longer body. That doesn't mean Dalen was just as disruptive in that game as anybody. And production interiorly, the way we play defense, production is not necessarily about tackles. We want you to make some tackles. Production out of those guys is more about holding the point, about playing on the other team's backfield, about holding your gap and freeing people up to run and make plays. And so that's hard if you're used to in high school just blowing through gaps and making tackles. I think you've seen Dalen Mack. People are asking me, well, last year he just ran through and make tackles for loss. Okay, but then 2 plays later, we get walled off and we're gashed. So David Turner has come in and done an excellent job of playing, having these guys play with pad level, have them play with great technique, and play with a little more control in our defense that is more of a gap control defense. And then that allows our linebackers and some of our other guys that maybe have a little bit more twitch to play in the backfield. So the rotation, I think, has helped those guys too, instead of them being on the field the whole time. So Hardrick Walker, Reggie Chavis is getting a lot of snaps, as a guy that moved from linebacker over the course of his career, but he's 300 pounds. And along with Kiki and Zay Coven. So you've got a 5-man rotation in there that can keep those guys fresh, which is something we've never had. And a system and a coach that's doing a great job with those guys. Like I said, just because they're not making those tackles there doesn't mean they haven't been productive. And you don't have 11 snaps inside the 2-yard line without those guys being a real force inside and whether it's clogging up things or playing in the backfield, but doing their job.
Go to the middle back, Daryl, and then Ben.
Coach, would you mind talking a little bit about South Carolina? They seem to have got off to kind of a rough start, and that sometimes happens when you have a new coach. But what do you expect to see from them Saturday?
Well, there's people make changes with coaching for different reasons. Will is a guy that has a lot of experience in this league. They're entering a new system, and they've been pretty good defensively. I think they're second in the league in scoring defense right now, just in our league. So he and T-Rob have been together for a while. They were at Florida. Defensively, they're always going to be good, and I think they're still trying to get an identity offensively, but defensively, there's never been a Will Muschamp team that's hadn't been salty. So, it's a great place to play. They got anybody who went over there a couple of years ago knows that the fans have a lot of passion, and it's loud. It's we had the opportunity to play that. I think we opened the SEC network on
Thursday night.
there on a Thursday night. So there's a lot of it's a place with a lot of pride, and anytime you go on the road in this league, you better be ready to play, and that's our message. Every week we just want to get a little bit better, and we want to be 1-0, and I think our guys have focused on that even from day to day. But certainly this week, going on the road, this is our furthest road trip this year, and for some young guys that are playing, it's really going up, riding a bus to Dallas, a little bit different. The first week we went to Auburn. You take for granted. We had a couple guys never been on planes before. You don't even think about that. So they're looking around. They're not like, what's wrong with you? They're looking out the window. Didn't help that the plane skipped on the runway on the way back at 3 o'clock in the morning. That didn't help our confidence. Just in case you guys didn't know, we got back at 3.
Yes, sir.
And
Bounced.
we bounced, and I think we ran out of runway because I looked back up and we were circling College Station again. So, for the guys who never been on a plane before, they're a little bit even more nervous this week. but it'll be all right. You know, we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, sneaking those guys in from a special team standpoint, and are gaining confidence every week. But you know, we got to bring our A game every week here. If we've learned anything over the last few years, we've learned that. We should have.
We'll go second row, Ben, and then Brent will wrap us up.
Coach, what do you
Yeah.
second row?
Okay.
Hey, Coach. You know, how good do you think, or how would you judge defense at this point, and is it kind of what you expected to see in the second year under Chavis at this point in his tenure?
Yeah, I think we've improved. You know, we're going to see some good teams from here on out. I mean, we've seen some good teams. We've seen different attacks. And I think what has been interesting has been the defense against the flexibility of the defense versus some different style. You know, you don't get more diverse than Auburn and Arkansas from an attack standpoint, from an emotion, all kinds of things. So, you know, that's the encouraging part of being able to have some flexibility defensively, and still play at a high level. So that's going to continue. And you know, the key to this thing too is to stay healthy, keep our depth, keep guys playing. Everybody saw the rotation the other night. You know, no matter what was going on, you know, Miles and Day played a lot, but so did Jared Johnson and Q. So, you know, the ability to have confidence to roll those guys in and out of the game has helped our defense. And whether it's at linebacker with Sean or with a number of guys, you know, Tyrell Dotson played snaps. You know, we got a big hit by Claude George, who has, you know, so those guys playing in there and playing multiple guys, I think, have helped our freshness and our speed on defense more than anything else. Our scheme's been great. Our guys are being coached well, but the ability to play, you know, 20, 30-some guys has really helped that defense.
Go Brent, and then Suzanne, you'll get to wrap us up today with a great question.
Your first time around here, you were kind of at the tail end under RC of what was considered the wrecking crew defenses, you know, at that time. And apparently Coach Jackson gathers the guys around and tells old wrecking crew stories.
Yeah, he claims he was part of it.
Apparently. So
that's what he's saying.
Right.
It's not about the wreck. It's about Coach Jackson
There you
claiming
go.
that he was. Yeah, that's how we used to play defense. It's what he said.
Exactly. So that's my question to you. Do you allow that term to kind of start easing its way back in, or how
Yeah,
do
I
you
don't
approach
know.
that?
That's something that you earn. You know, I'm not. I think everybody's got their own identity. That's not really up to me. It's, you know, I think for years when I was not here and as a player in the 80s, and then, you know, as a young coach, certainly Texas A&M had two great things. They had great tailbacks and they played great defense. And from the outside looking in, whether I was in the Big Ten or whether I was in I can't believe I'm saying the Pac-10, which there is no more of. But, you know, that's where you were, and that's what you saw without having the television exposure that you have today. So that was certainly an identity. And I would say that because it was at such a high level, you know, it's not anything that we're pushing, I think. But if people start to identify us philosophically, or us as like that as a defense, that I don't think you can take that as anything but a compliment if that starts happening.
All right, Suzanne. Yes.
Because this is kind of a football question, but kind of a business-related question, which is why I was saving it. But you all are kind of on the forefront of liking to wear different kinds of uniforms, especially this Saturday, I guess, when it's a salute to the 1956 team. Who decides that you all are going to do that, and who has input in actually choosing what you all wear?
First of all, Suzanne, we've got a great partnership with Adidas, and they've done, I mean, just a great partnership across the board. I think we get a lot of questions about different uniforms, but we watch all our other sports wear all kinds of different uniforms, and they don't seem to get the questions we get in football. But they've done a great job with us, and it started off really the first year as a surprise, just trying to create a little energy in year one. Adidas sat down. It's kind of interesting. When I got the job, actually at the national championship, Adidas had a reception at the convention and had samples of uniforms right then. So, we immediately went to our traditional, made the decision then to go to the uniform that we have right now, was a traditional uniform going back to the two stripes and the matte helmet. And then from there, they've had all kinds of different ideas, and those are approved through a lot of different people. So, I think this uniform is one that plays tribute to a team that finished fifth in the country, had one tie, undefeated. And so I think it's great to recognize tradition, not just in what we do in pageantry, but also as a team that I think those guys that were on that team, there's some great names on that team that are historic in Texas A&M football as players, as coaches. And so, I think it's great that we're able to have a replica uniform that's like that, that's not outrageous, that's really traditional and really is representative of one of the great football teams to ever